The British Broadcasting Corporation released a documentary called Donald Trump, Second Chance. It was aired about a week before the 2024 United States elections. It's important to understand this was released a week before the election.
A new media scandal is erupting between United States President Donald Trump and the British Broadcasting Corporation. Trump says he plans to sue the British public broadcaster for billions of dollars after what he calls fraudulent and corrupt editing of one of his speeches. The dispute erupted over a segment aired on the British Broadcasting Corporation investigative program Panorama, which combined two separate moments from Trump's speech. January 6, 2021, his call for supporters to go to the Capitol. And more than 50 minutes later, his phrase, we fight like hell." Edited together, these moments created the impression in Petersburg that Trump was calling for violent actions. And now the British Broadcasting Corporation has admitted that the editing was misleading. Aboard Air Force One Friday evening, Trump told reporters he would file a lawsuit next week.
The British Broadcasting Corporation got scared and published a sort of apology, saying that it all happened without any malicious intent.
The broadcaster did indeed publish a correction, admitting that a false impression was created as if Trump had immediately called for violence, and stated that the edited clip would never be shown again. The British Broadcasting Corporation refuses compensation, arguing there are no grounds for defamation. The consequences within the corporation were swift, and both British Broadcasting Corporation Director General Tim Davie and Head of News Deborah Turnus resigned last week, stating that the incident posed a threat. British Broadcasting Corporation Chairman Samir Shah sent a personal letter of apology to the White House, expressing regret, but claiming that the editing did not meet the legal threshold for defamation. And former British Broadcasting Corporation Director General Tony Hall also spoke out, warning that the corporation should never agree to pay compensation using public funds. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer called on the British Broadcasting Corporation to uphold the highest editorial standards, but emphasized his continued support for a strong, independent broadcaster. However, Trump is not backing down.
A strong and independent ABC means that in words we acknowledge the mistake, but we are not going to do anything about it and have no intention to. Well, fine, so they fired 2 people and hired them for other jobs, and the rest of you can just get lost. But British Broadcasting Corporation didn't make a mistake by accident, like they said that one time.
The United Kingdom Minister of Culture, Liza Nandi, states that the scandal has increased concerns about political influence over the British Broadcasting Corporation, and she plans to address this issue in the next charter review. Trump has a history of winning large settlements against American media companies. In July of this year, Promount settled a lawsuit in which Trump accused the Columbia Broadcasting System program 60 Minutes of airing an edited interview that he claimed unfairly influenced the 2024 election.
Maybe we could agree that the editor didn't want to, well, of course, didn't want to cause harm, but the thing is, there was immediately another innocent mistake.
And now we find out that the same speech was edited and shown on Newsnight 2 years before that, in 2022. What's more, the invited guest, after being shown that clip on the program, then says, "Actually, you changed the meaning of what was said." The next morning, according to the Telegraph, this was discussed at the editorial e-meeting and all the concerns raised were ignored. Now, the British Broadcasting Corporation has issued a statement saying that the British Broadcasting Corporation adheres to the highest editorial standards. This issue has been brought to our attention and we are currently looking into it.
Let me clarify. Apart from the documentary with the setup, the British Broadcasting Corporation News has a completely different program, a different editorial team. Another deception was launched, namely the same speech by the president but edited differently. Even British Broadcasting Corporation staff said during preparation that this was manipulation, but the management of the other program, to put it mildly, ignored this warning.
Tonight, you're telling viewers that
you are going to submit.
ASC filed a defamation complaint against the British Broadcasting Corporation.
I think I have an obligation to do this because you can't let people do things like that.
Amid President Trump's threats to sue the British Broadcasting Corporation for deceptive editing of his January 6 speech, we learned that the network has done this for the second time. Come on, British Broadcasting Corporation? The Telegraph reports that British Broadcasting Corporation Newsnight in 2022 made a misleading edit to create the impression that Trump, quote, encouraged his supporters to riot.
So they have impartial, honest, noble television that fights against the low deceiver. And to fight the low deceiver, they lie, well, without even closing their mouths. Continuation.
Here it is. First, the British Broadcasting Corporation's editing, then what he actually said. Subtitles.
We will support our brave senators and congressmen and congresswomen. And we are fighting with all our might. And we will support our brave senators and congressmen and congresswomen, and maybe we won't support some of them that much.
The same speech, falsified differently. Trump says, we will honor our brave representatives, but not all of them, not all. And he made it look like he said, supposedly, we will go to the Capitol, we will honor our representatives further. Cut to flags, the crowd then, we will fight like hell. We will.
To the Capitol, we will go to the Capitol, and I will be with you, and we will fight with all our might.
If you don't fight with all your might, you won't have a country anymore.
We will go to the Capitol.
And we will fight.
And we will support our brave senators, congressmen, and congresswomen.
We will fight.
Subtitles, and we will fight with all our strength. If you don't fight with all your strength, you'll lose your country.
The British seem to like his fight like hell. To fight means to give it your all there, or to fight to the last there. Well, to stand your ground to the death, something like that.
These two comments, which the British Broadcasting Corporation combined together, were made almost an hour apart and were not related. The British Broadcasting Corporation told us that the network, quote, adheres to the highest editorial standards. This issue has been brought to our attention, and we are currently looking into it. End of quote. Well, they should take a closer look.
Vile crawling creatures with the arrogance of honest political partners, prostitutes.
Jason, President Trump has just responded about the Air Force One plane incident. We have audio of this here. Watch this, and I want to hear your reaction to what the president just said.
So, the British Broadcasting Corporation apologized and retracted the report, but they say they won't pay any compensation. That's enough. We will sue them for an amount from $1 billion to $5 billion probably next week, So
are you ready? So, Jason, you've seen everything from your perspective and your closeness to the president, but now the president is definitely saying yes. We will probably sue them for an amount from $1 to $5 billion next week, as the president is trying to restore his reputation. This amendment was very deceptive.
Yes, that's true. It's good President Trump keeps taking action and stands firm. And I think one of the things people really need to realize here is that the British Broadcasting Corporation, as you noted, only apologized once. They didn't apologize for both incidents. They apologized for one. It's truly incomprehensible that after many days, they announced they won't restore President Trump's reputation or pay compensation. And let me explain to people at home why the British Broadcasting Corporation has such big problems. The burden of proof in the United Kingdom is very different from that in the United States. In the United States, the plaintiff is the person defamed. The person who files the lawsuit must prove that what was said against them is false. But in the United Kingdom, the defendant, the media outlet that made the defamatory statement, must prove that what they said was true. Well, how did you show the audience? There was nothing true in that statement from British Broadcasting Corporation. They deliberately put things together. Also, all the British Broadcasting Corporation leaders either resigned or were forced out. Whatever you call it, it's another admission of guilt. Another thing you wisely pointed out is that President Trump really has an obligation to see this through so that it doesn't happen again. President Trump and Mrs. Trump have been winning against fake news since he returned to office. I don't think he'll back down here.
It's interesting that the United Kingdom Parliament stood up to defend the British Broadcasting Corporation, which doesn't speak very well of our ally Great Britain. To be continued.
President Trump is trying to destroy our British Broadcasting Corporation, not because he cares about the truth, but because he doesn't want his lies to be exposed.
It turns out that Trump doesn't want the truth. He just wants to lie with impunity. That's how it is.
And the British Broadcasting Corporation must uphold the highest standards, be accountable, and quickly correct its mistakes.
But I will always defend a strong, independent British Broadcasting Corporation. Yes, what is it like to stand up for strong, independent journalism or something like that, as opposed to deceptive lies?
Right, exactly. And again, they're only upset because they got caught. They're not upset because they're truly disgusted by their behavior. They're just caught doing it again. And again, for the people from the Labour Party who are acting like their hair is on fire, here's what many don't realize. In the United Kingdom, voters, citizens have to pay a license fee. They have to spend their tax money to fund this garbage. So they're funding the real fake news. Just imagine if they didn't. We already have public broadcasting service, but imagine if we had to fund it ourselves. I don't know, a tax from National Broadcasting Company or ABC or some of those channels that have been attacking President Trump for many years. So it's really outrageous, and people in the United Kingdom are outraged just like President Trump.
It's interesting that under British law, the press has to prove that what they published or said on air is true. How are they going to prove it in a London court? Because that's where it will be judged. That what they said in at least 2 cases is true. When? It's clear this is edited in a lie, right? Well, it's just as they say, written all over his face. Of course, they'll start offering compensation to cover this up. And maybe Trump will demand that they change the editors and management there. But most likely he won't try to ruin the British Broadcasting Corporation. Not $5 billion, but something else. This is what it means when, as usual, the left acts to achieve their goals and any means are justified. Or, as they say, the end justifies the means. We need to kill opium. So I asked artificial intelligence, who lies more? British Broadcasting Corporation or Russia Channel or maybe Channel 1? Yes, here's the answer. Most international studies show that Russian channels systematically manipulate facts, while the British Broadcasting Corporation has editorial independence. That wasn't really an answer to my question because you can lie by assignment, like in Russia, or by calling, like in Britain. Then I asked if lying is systemic there and there in Russia, the intelligence told me. So television doesn't, as they say, make things up. It just delivers to the viewer the propaganda that was prepared in the Kremlin. That is, they are simply a transmission link for television. So you can't say that in Russia it's a system of lies, systematic lying. It's just that television has a different function, a more technical one, not a creative one. I'll add for myself, except for a couple of individual scoundrels, these creative liars, all the others just receive, speak, just repeat, that's all. And in Britain, they lie because real facts come to them, unlike in Russia, and the British Broadcasting Corporation manipulates them however it wants. And it seems that either there is no control there, or the control actually wants this from the employees for them to lie creatively. Then I got curious. I asked this very artificial intelligence, what do you know about Ukrainian television over the last 3 years of war? The Ukrainian answer is characterized by a combination of government directives, influence, and the influence of oligarchs. You see, the new thing is pushed in along with political bans, basically censorship. Ukrainian television is not uniformly propagandistic like Russian television, but at the same time, it's not free in expressing opinions about military events. Well, that's probably the truth. The same goes for evaluating political events in the country and abroad. That is, Ukrainian television is not free in this regard, so it cannot be called free and independent. Then I decided to check my observations and asked, what about Israeli television? Well, as they say, I'm familiar with this. And with the first circle, Israeli television, In terms of pluralism and criticism, Israeli television is more diverse than Russian, Ukrainian, and British television. The only restriction is the military topic, which, as I said, is probably understandable. Journalists are constantly conducting investigations into corruption, embezzlement, misuse of entrusted funds, internal problems, and so on, and they publish them openly. This is artificial intelligence. I don't worry at all about censorship or lack of accountability. The only exception is information related to military actions and the army in general. Here, everything follows the national narrative. That's a word the artificial intelligence came up with. I would never use such a word myself. And apparently it gets information from a single source. I mean, the Army's propaganda department gives them this information, that's all. Since the conversation has already started then. The United Kingdom took deliberate measures from 1945 to 1948 to prevent Jewish refugees after the Holocaust from resettling in Israel. Requests to relocate increased after the concentration camps were liberated, but England strictly limited Jewish emigration. Illegal immigrants were shipped off and sent to camps in Cyprus or returned to camps in Germany from which they had come, the concentration camps. Well, of course, there they were fed, so to speak, and not punished, and so on. But still, they were sent back to the concentration camps in Germany. The British detained ships with refugees and deported those who arrived. On July 11th, 1947, what probably was the main event actually happened, which served as the beginning, the opening, the revival of Jewish life. In the Jewish state, there were 4,500 Jewish refugees, including 655 children. All of them were from the camps, every single one from the camps. They set out to sea on a ship. So it was called something else there, but they covered up the name and wrote Exodus. 1947. For them, it was a great exodus and a return to their homeland. 40 kilometers off the coast of Israel, 8 military ships boarded this vessel, attacked it, killed 3 people, and 217 passengers were wounded. And they towed it, I don't remember exactly now, closer to Israel. And they tried to transfer them to some ships there to send them home. They didn't get off the ship, so then I think they were sent to Cyprus. And from there, them. After a month of a hunger strike, they took the ship back to the shores of Germany and escorted the passengers back to the concentration camps where they had been before. So, gentlemen, the behavior of the British Broadcasting Corporation and the British Parliament is nothing new to me personally. It seems that Great Britain is only great when it comes to its own interests. It could be England first, America first, but not to do all this. Morality, conscience, and honor didn't interest the barons in the times of the Charter, didn't interest the ministers during the Holocaust, and don't interest today, so I'm not surprised. To be fair, I should say that both England's neighbor and France, at the end of the 19th and beginning of the 20th century, were marked by widespread anti-Semitism with pogroms. That's what we always say in Russia, in Poland, in Ukraine. In France, in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, there were widespread pogroms and anti-Jewish protests. As for Germany, let's not even talk about it. Everyone remembers the 6 million Jews killed. So what's the point? Actually, yes, it doesn't seem to directly concern us. Trump isn't Jewish and America isn't Israel. It's just that when people are vile and act like scum in some ways, it's foolish to expect them to be morally pure and wonderful in other aspects of life. And secondly, people keep telling me that Jews have taken over and control the whole world. If that's true, then Jews must be masochists. I hope you know what masochists are. And they supposedly order the world to constantly kill, torment, rob, insult, and evict Jews. I think the British should be fined at least $5 billion, whether in euros or dollars, I don't care, so that they're afraid to do or say anything. Nasty things, although, well, they won't stop, right? Yeah, in my experience, they won't stop. And what do you think? What are your thoughts on all these matters? Yes, gentlemen, don't forget that the bell over there is meant to be rung, because without the bell, there won't be any noise.